All right, we're back. Episode 1
Let's get right into it.
of Expandable. Today we're talking about what growth is not. You know, if we're going to make this a series, we need to start with setting the premise of we're going to talk about growth and how you expand.
Okay.
What is it not? All right. So let's jump right into it. I think, and I think you'll have some thoughts on this, that growth is not taking on a lot of debt right away.
Oh, absolutely not. That is not growth.
Right. And so I'm going to start with just a quote. It's always stuck with me. You know, you get these clips on wherever, but this is years and years ago. Mark Cuban was interviewed by somebody, and there's a clip where he says, the dumbest thing you can do is take debt to start a business. And it was like just a clip.
Yeah.
And I was like, that, you know, this was like probably 10 years ago. And I was like, I never really had that as like a philosophy. I always thought if you need to take debt to start a business, then do it. But I was on the premise of like, you got a good idea, right? And like, this is good. You've worked it out. But when he said that, it was so definitive. And I thought, this is like a guy who's started lots of businesses, sold, businesses. And he's saying, absolutely don't take debt. And what made sense to me was that he was basically saying, I don't think he was not saying to not take debt. Absolutely. I think what he was saying is make sure it's going to work.
Yeah. Test the waters.
So
test waters. I mean, and two, if it is not successful right off the bat or could be profitable amount, why would you take on debt before you know?
Yep.
And anybody that's going to lend you money on there, is a fool too.
That's right. That's right.
Here, I have this idea. Here's money.
Yeah. A long time ago, I have a little anecdotal story. A long time ago, probably 15 years ago, I was just working as a salesperson, or it was a consulting role, but as a business development person up when I lived in Birmingham. And Lindsay has always had this dream of opening her own store, right? A retail store selling like toddler clothes or baby clothes or, all the stuff that's cute. It's a dream really, but she knows it's not really something she's suited to do. So we never really have done it. Plus that business is super hard to, to be in.
Yeah.
But, so there was this store that came for sale. It was super cute. Everything was pretty much done. And it was just to buy the business. And I started looking into it. And I didn't know what I didn't know as a young entrepreneur at the time. I mean, I wasn't even an entrepreneur because I was still working for someone. I just thought I knew what it would take to start a business. And so I had this dream in my mind of like, it's pretty straightforward. I'll just go take a $200,000-$300,000 loan, buy the business, all the inventory, and we'll figure out how to sell it.
How you going to pay yourself?
Right? The reason I'm bringing that up is because I wanted to make it real. Like I've had these thoughts, I haven't always had the right path, right? Like you learn over time. And I think it's valuable for people watching because,
so what stopped you from doing that? It's good that you followed that process and you thought about it and that business was there and you didn't have $200,000. So the only way to get that was to borrow or take on debt to get that business. But at least that business already was operating. So hopefully you had an insight to see if it was profitable or if it could sustain debt.
Yeah. I didn't know a lot about running a business at that point.
Okay.
And so it was really ignorance and I don't know if someone bought it before I was able to do anything with it, but I couldn't get it together in the time frame that I needed to move forward with it. So whatever you want to call that's serendipity or fate or whatever. Like that was like good that I did not move forward because all in my mind was like, oh, honey, you have this dream. I want to realize that dream for you. I'm gonna work hard to have that happen for you. That's what was in my mind. It wasn't like, let's look at the financials. Let's look at how much it's bringing in. Let's look at the vendor relationships. Let's look at all these things that I would look at now if I was ever interested in buying that. But I'm bringing it up because I think a lot of business owners and especially entrepreneurs that are new think like that, right? Yeah. They have this sort of pie in the sky, have this idea, and my friends have told me that it's great. And why wouldn't,
well, I love
the upside.
What's that website that has business for Biz
by Sell.
Biz by Sell.
Yeah.
I love looking at those and you see the valuations that people want.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that always hits my mind is, okay, they're saying we make $80,000 or $100,000. Let's throw that out there. But what they're not saying was that's all they make. That requires them working 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
So you got to borrow money to work 80 hours to make that 100,000. That is not, when you look at it that way, you're like, no. And then that's the other thing. People value their businesses way more. You got to look at the valuation of your business of what another employee to do it cost with you not involved. And if the owner has to be that much involved, there's less valuation because you're just buying work.
That's right.
And so it better sustain you. So I think people need to look at that. You're buying work.
It's true.
And they don't realize, you know what? $15 an hour at this job is actually
more
paying me more than that. That's $100,000.
And you can clock in and clock out, and there's no liability, there's no risk, there's no people to manage. You're buying a job is basically what you're, the ones you're talking about. That a lot of times that's what you're doing. You're taking over someone's problem, and it may look dreamy, but it's not. No. You know what would be interesting is on one of these episodes to pull up Biz Buy Sell and just look at the current listings and like go through them and say,
this is undervalued. I think that would be great.
It'd be a lot of fun. I look at that a lot actually. Locally, because it's an exercise for me.
We're going to make sure the ones that I haven't seen their financial, like, oh God, don't buy that one. Don't cross that bridge,
Yeah, we may have to kind of vet. We found this one on page 3.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, to this point of debt, like you're in the business of making commercial mortgages, right? And lending to businesses. So, it's funny that a bank CEO that makes commercial mortgages is going to, say, no, don't buy this from me.
Yeah. Because of success. Ultimately, we need that payment. We've got most of our costs is on the upfront of underwriting a commercial mortgage. So whether it's, $50,000 or $5 million, you have a lot of time up front. So we get paid over the time. We want that loan to just, we're buying an amortization schedule. We want it to pay its monthly payment for the life of the loan. That is the end up goal. If it defaults or pays, we don't want to be in your business.
That's right.
We don't want to... we don't want to run it. We don't want your client. Absolutely.
That's right.
It's got to be up for success. And if we don't feel like, and that's the one thing I love about commercial lending, it should be a win-win for both. If it's not a win-win, don't do it.
Yeah.
Do you need the debt? Yes, no. Okay. Then it's a win-win. It's great. The residential lending for me personally is so much harder because people have so much emotion. One of the, either one or both have so much emotion in it. Oh, I've got to have that house. Well, how much can I afford? And you're like, okay, well, technically you could afford a $4,000 a month payment, but you shouldn't.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So that gets into it. And then you're like,
when you say technically you can afford it, it's still based on a certain mentality or philosophy.
Oh, yeah, because
it's actually not.
My train of thought was going back is, I still love the rule, like, don't buy a house more than 2.5 times your annual salary. That has gone completely out the window. I see people barely, a family of 4 making $80,000 and they're in a $500,000 house. I mean, are you kidding me? How are you going to afford the water heater when it goes out? How can you afford
This is funny. It reminds me of just the other day I saw an Instagram reel of car sales dealer, and they're going around different car salesmen, and they're saying, how much is your car payment? And every single one of them, it starts at like $700 a month.
Oh, yeah.
$800 a month, $1,200 a month, $1,700 a month. And they're all just like saying, yeah, that's my car payment. And what that says to me is like, you don't go to a car dealership to get advice on how much you can afford to buy a car. So you don't go to a bank to get advice on how much you can afford, right?
And unfortunately, I don't know the percentage, but I'd say majority of people just always assume I'm always going to have a car payment. So no matter what, they never have that time frame where they don't have a car payment.
Exactly.
So they've just allocated in their mind and their budget, I'm always going to pay $700 a month regardless for a car. And it's like, I mean, they may have a year or two left, trade it in, get another $700 a month. And it's like, oh, wow.
And the burden it puts on them personally is they don't know that it's such a burden, really. There is a burden there, and they know there's a burden, but they don't know how big the burden is because they've never been in the other situation. And I'd say it's the same thing for the business. The business side, if you start to take on more debt than your business can afford. And
let's look at that. Debt it's not always borrowed typically from a bank. It's also getting additional software that you don't need.
Right.
Salesforce is an awesome tool, but maybe you don't need it yet.
Yeah, maybe you don't need it or what it will do. Maybe you need a smaller version of it.
You could just use an Excel spreadsheet. teach yourself. You take, 30-minute class. Now you've got your pivot table. Great. That's going to do it for a while. Or, you think you need a sophisticated sales approach how about you just get some sales first under your books, make your notes, know who Lee is, know whose business, you don't need the sophisticated model yet. Just prove it first.
Yeah. I think that's a major flaw of entrepreneurs who are starting out, especially because they've never done it before, is that they will read all this stuff or listen to all this stuff, and they'll think they have it all down, and they'll think, okay, well, I have to have all of these things to get started.
Every day I get emails and solicitation of calls that say, we're going to automate this process. We've got another software to overlay on this. You got other software. And I always like new things. That's just ingrained in me to look at it. But I've always got to stop myself, because even if it is a really good product, if my staff only has so much bandwidth, they can't do it. So you've got to hold back and not buy it. So literally people, they can only really be proficient at so many things.
Yeah.
So you can't have 10 of the best software in the world for them to utilize. None of it's going to get utilized well. You need 2 to 3. That's it.
That's right. Yeah. So, just to kind of wrap up that first point, I think it's the consensus is to not take debt when you first start your business.
Not take on liability and ongoing monthly payments either.
Right. There might be an instance, and I think that there is, where debt makes sense to start a business, especially if you're buying a business. You
started.
A lot of like commercial lending, the service that you actually provide is going to generally come after the fact, where a business they've been doing well, succeeding. They've got good financials. Now they want to expand.
And that loan should save you money. So you were able to borrow enough to maybe buy more of your product, or your cost of goods at a lower cost. So that rate you're paying on that loan is immediately offset by getting a better pricing.
That's right.
So there are ways to facilitate, but you better know those numbers too going in hand.
Yeah. So it's knowing your numbers first of all, and then knowing where that debt plays a part, if it does, because to that point, I think if the loan that you're going to get, whether it's for a new piece of equipment, new software, or a building, if it's not going to produce a return on investment, that not necessarily that a loan is an investment, but it kind of is in a business context. If there's not a return, like more efficient, a net efficiency, a net return, then it's probably not a great idea.
Yeah.
So, I think there's
and hit me on that. And there's a lot of people out there that sell products. Come to the hotel and sell this, and they're selling how to leverage other people's money. And there is a way to leverage other. We're in banking. We're all about leverage and margins and that kind of stuff. Understand that, but also dealing with foreclosures post 2008, 9, and 11, and seeing the house of cards that people did because they over leveraged and didn't have enough room to sustain
completely
when there was a loss in revenue and rental income and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you got to be sober minded about the hard financials and looking at those, staying in tune with those, and knowing what the.
Because my big pet peeve all the way when people were looking at their rate of return based on the physical dollar they put in. No, you also need to put in there your liability. So if you bought $1 million piece of property and you only have, $200,000 in it, and it's making, X amount of dollars, and you're only basing it on that $200,000 you put in it, no, you need to take in consideration that $800,000 you still owe.
That's right. As a final point, since we're talking about debt and kind of the commercial mortgage side of things, it would make sense to me that if I'm going to expand my business and I want to take a loan out on a building, there's in a lot of cases going to be a personal guarantee that's required. So if I have a lot of personal debt, that's going to be factored in, isn't it?
Oh, for sure, because that personal debt is going to allocate in this category and say, Lee has this monthly obligation, and he makes this, and that's going to go on, 5 C's of credit and underwriting, and one of that, and that builds into the character. What has Lee done prior to coming into this? But so cash flow.
The burden is so much bigger on the business to the net, profit, net revenue, that they're going to,
because when a bank underwrites that loan, you're going to look at two things. You're going to look at the collateral. You're going to look at the business being able to facilitate the payment, and it is making enough to pay it. But you also you look at global cash flow.
Yeah.
You look at what Lee has in personal debt. Also, that person, entrepreneurs are contagious. It is awesome. So typically people will have one business, they have two businesses, three businesses. They may be in a related field, it could be in a completely unrelated field.
Right.
So if you've got one business that you personally guarantee that is completely underwater and you're over leveraging that, that's going to make a difference in your loan on this other business.
Right.
I mean, it just is.
Entrepreneurs and then CEOs of businesses are generally known to be gregarious or ambitious or always looking at the upside. And I think the message here for that person, if you are that person, is to be honest with yourself, and maybe bring some accountability into the numbers and say, yeah, I want to take this, I want to bite off whatever this new project is or expansion is, but maybe I should wait 3 months. Maybe I should wait 3 years. Maybe I shouldn't do it at all. And I think having that conversation with yourself and key people around you is important.
Yeah.
Second point, the same kind of conversation, but around taking on lots of investment right away. So, this is not just early stage or startup, which I think a lot of people can get themselves in trouble on the front end of giving away too much of their company. But it's also, okay, we're stuck. The pandemic hit. We took on a lot of debt because we're trying to stay in business, or, our customer base dropped in terms of what people were spending, same amount of customers, or the number of customers dropped off. A new competitor came in the market and we're feeling the crunch. Now we need help to get out of this, taking on strategic investment partners that are maybe overlapped in your industry, things like that. I think what growth is not is taking what can be sometimes the easy way out, because we're talking about an influx of money that potentially can solve problems, debt or investment. And a lot of times just having that new money doesn't actually solve the problem.
Well, you're going to add an obligation. You're taking on money. You're going to have to provide not only transparency in everything you do, and you're going to have to be okay with being questioned.
That's right.
If you're the type of person that doesn't like to be questioned, you better not take in any money.
That's true.
Because, anybody invests in you, they should question you. They should question every step of the way. And just because questioning you, it's not a, war or battle. Maybe they're trying to understand it. And if you can't fulfill their questions, then you're on the wrong path.
That's right.
And if, an investor is questioning you and you're getting upset at their line of questioning, or you think they're undermining you, then, you don't have enough confidence in what you're doing, and you need to go. So you got to have really thick skin when you're taking on investors, realize that they're putting a stake in you. They're going to have to definitely believe in you.
That's right.
Obviously it is if they give you the money, but you're going to have to know that you got to be accountable to them.
Yeah, like on the debt side, you're bringing on that stakeholder burden of the bank that you now have a new relationship with. On the investment side, you have one or multiple partners that are coming on, or however they're deemed, that you now have a burden to them. You have a requirement and a responsibility to fulfill. So, I guess the message that I would put out there for this whole general topic is to really get honest about your business and where it's at. Honestly, not in a reactive state, emotional state about something negative happened, or you're just starting and you're looking at the upside and thinking this is always going to go up. And be honest about where you stand. And because I think what could come out of that is focusing on the nuts and bolts of smaller levers that you can pull yourself, you and your team can pull, and start to make some headway in the right direction. It may not go as fast as you want it to go, but it's going to go. And you don't have this extra burden that you brought in.
And I think you need to realize when you're in that position where the only way I can survive if I am able to get that loan, or if I'm going to take that investment. So your business now can't sustain its existing, and you think that money is going to save you. I can't think of a business that has made it out of that. It just delays the inevitable.
That's true.
And you took on more liability. You took on more, maybe greater chance of bankruptcy, greater chance of now having more people upset with you.
Yeah.
There's not many I can't think of a business out there that was in that position that that debt saved them.
And in fact, or that if you're talking to, like we said before, if a bank lends, it's, that they're part of the problem too. Same thing with investor. If an investor is going to look at your stuff and pass you and give you the money, then, they're just aiding and abetting your bad mistake. Yeah. If a good investor
they're going to take over, they're going to take over control and change the direction or liquidate, liquidate what should be liquidated, what you should have already done.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, you're going to have to make the hard decisions whenever that time comes. So why not face the reality and try to make the hard decisions now before you have that extra burden?
Yeah.
Okay, last part of this segment is really kind of like what growth is not, is a bad product market fit, right? And this kind of goes to what we're saying about the gregarious entrepreneur or CEO always sees the upside. Passion does not make a good product.
Yeah, look at what's going on in the fintech world.
Exactly. I mean, you can make a great pitch deck. You can sell investors to give money because the money's there and they have to get rid of it because they want to, fulfill their duties to their, their portfolio.
Well, they're also, and they're doing the model. They're betting little for greater gain. So, they're in a completely different model than you are.
Completely. But passion's only going to take you so far. You need the passion. You need to show up and be excited about what you're doing. But if your product does not work in the market, it's not going to work. And it doesn't, no amount of debt, no amount of investment is going to change that. And we've seen that a lot in the tech industry, SaaS industry, all the fintech stuff, all the way across the board. All these new great ideas are just done and gone. You never hear from them. It happens in regular businesses too. You get an idea to open up a pet grooming, people use pet grooming. Okay, well, there's a good product market fit there. If you look around, you can probably, pull the demographics and say, about this people have dogs. I don't know if cats get groomed, do they?
I don't think so. At least not often.
They groom them. If they're getting groomed, that's probably a problem. They groom themselves. But, this many people have dogs. The community is, geared towards dogs. Okay. And most people are going to have their dog groomed. Some people would do it themselves, whatever. Some people don't do it at all. You can start to, put together the fact that pet grooming, there's a historical track record for people buying this service, right?
Yeah.
That's great.
Probably based on population. And
right. It's a simple one.
And median income.
Right. But if you start getting into, pet, weaving pet blankets or making pet bandanas or, all the accoutrements that might go along with pet grooming, well, it's going to get outside the bounds of a solid historical product market fit. And it's great. We need new and innovative products and different things like that. But you need to go talk to people. You need to sell a couple of these. You need to make sure this is actually going to fit before you jump into getting a loan to start your business, getting a partner.
Well, you also have a great idea and the timing is just not there yet,
Yeah. And a lot of times, like if you're passionate about making, pet bandanas and you're like, this is the future, which they exist. I've seen them, a lot of farmers markets, but if this is your passion, well, then maybe your product is a complement to another core product that is a good market fit. Maybe you're selling. How many
times have you seen dogs out in the public wearing a bandana?
Have I?
How many times?
A pretty good amount.
The only time I ever see
at the pet parade.
Yes,
the dog parade. Yeah,
companies give them out.
Yeah,
that's where I see the market is.
Yeah. Okay. So there you go. It's like
I wouldn't sell to end consumer.
Instead of like opening a brick and mortar or opening it, Etsy shop probably would make more sense. But we're going to pay all this money for rent, hire people, and we're going to make pet bandanas, and it's going to be great because the world needs this. It might make more sense to say, well, who is actually currently buying pet bandanas? It's promotional companies that work with, commercial companies. I'm going to sell through that channel. It's doing the work on the front end and not being so passionate that you have blinders on.
Yeah.
So I see it a lot because
I see them come in. They're looking for a loan and they're so passionate about something. And it's hard sometimes to take them down from the passion. You're like, okay, wait a second. You have no experience. You've never done this. And you want us to just give you a loan. Like, banks, a lot of times I see them market like we're your partner.
That's right.
And that annoys the piss out of me because a partner is typically 50-50 they have to say.
Yeah.
And a bank is not and they are partners in a lot of cases. You know, the success, you know, their success, your success run together, but they're not making 50% of your revenue. They're not. They're, in the grand scheme of things, they should be a very small percentage. And if they're making, obviously rates are higher. We're, you know, in the beginning of October of 2022 right now. So prime rate for commercial base 6.25. So, you know, rates are going to be anywhere from 6 to 9%. And a new business be higher.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, because there's more risk.
Yeah. But that is not a huge return on the bank to just bet on an idea of passion. You know, you're going to have some collateral, tangible, that bank can then resell if needed. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I see it a ton. And in fact, over the years of coming in and companies finding me and calling me in to help them with marketing strategy, and particularly for growth, you know, they have this problem in their mind of we're not able to make this thing work. Help us to make this thing work. And as I start to peel the onion back over the years, I realized that they don't know their business. Like, I could come in here and give you a market strategy. I could give you a way.
So what do you do in that case? Do you just say, I'm not the person for you?
No, actually what I've started to do is to make that conversation on the table, to say, okay, I'm going to ask you now some questions about your business model. And let's talk, because marketing reveals your business model. It starts to open that door into, you know, how are you set up to go to market? How are you setting your business up structurally to serve your market, right? Because you're talking about your target audience, you're talking about your messaging, you're talking about what you're trying to do with your company. As you start to get into that side of it, it's, all right, what's the vision for the company? Is it to sell for a 3x multiple in 10 years? Or is it to really do well, whatever you would classify that is, by your employees? And you want to make it very equitable for everybody that's here because it's like a family. Like, there's lots of different trains of thought. And so depending on that, a lot of them don't know. I mean, most of the ones I meet with, they don't have a vision. They don't have a solid, like, this is where we're headed and we're on mission every day to do this thing. So as I start to see this over the years, I'm like, I got to dig into this more. And so I will broach that topic and I will start to get deeper into the actual business strategy of what they're trying to do so that it can inform what we do on the marketing side. Because I can put together the best, you know, marketing strategy and say, here's how we're going to use social. Here's how we're going to use Google. Here's how we're going to use all the different tools. And here's how your team's going to come around that strategy to execute. And it will completely fail. Or mostly completely fail. Why? Because we weren't able to even get to business goals, let alone objectives. So if we don't have the business goals and objectives in mind, we can't attach any kind of measurable action that says we had success on the marketing side or sales side. So, you know, as I started looking back up the chain, I started asking these questions, and it became it's just part of what I do now. Like now when I go in, I'm really starting with business model. I need to know what I'm driving for whenever I have my discovery on the front end. Generally, I'm driving for product market fit. And I can generally tell a lot before I go because I can look at the website and look at the product, and based on the breadth of everything I've seen before, I can make that decision. If I don't feel comfortable with it, like, you know, looking at a company the other day, they're super successful. They make the electronics that go inside of the metal box that control all of the lighting and AV for a lot of the Disney stuff that goes on.
Okay.
Right? So super successful, been around for a long time. And weirdly, I met the company that I'm talking to now who makes the box, like physically manufactures their box. Weird. Small world. But
yeah, that is.
But I'm looking at them both differently because they're different businesses. But the first one is like, okay, you've got a really good thing going here, but what's the trajectory of the industry? Is your main client Disney? Like, what happens when, you know, Disney has to close their door for COVID? Like, lots of different, you know, questions that go on in terms of that business. Then I'm looking at the manufacturing company and saying, okay, you make this box. Is your only client them? And is their only client Disney? That could be a that could be a problem. You know,
the valuation of that company is not going to be as much as they think, even if they have
exactly
revenue dependent. Same way with banking,
which gets back to looking at your numbers. But, you know, business owners have to be thinking about the business model as far as how they're going to market. But I'm looking for things like, is there wind at their back? Like back to the pet grooming thing. Okay.
Is there a lot more runway?
That's established, but now what's the demand look like? Is there demand, and is that demand naturally or organically increasing for that product market fit? Like right now,
so if you don't think you're going to add any value to them, you cut them right there. Just like you're doing well is one product. I don't see how you could expand this. Just keep your costs down low and make the money while you can on this. Yeah.
In fact, I'm talking to somebody right now and we're having that same conversation. It's like, you got to change your business model completely and go this direction, or you kind of have to just put Band-Aids on it until you can retire. And you're getting close to retirement, so you got to make that decision.
Because there are so many cool little businesses out there that have one customer, you do really well.
That's right.
I can expand it outside of there, make your money while you can.
Yeah, and to talk about the wind at your back part of it, because I think that's a key component for a rapidly growing company, is a good example, and you're familiar with this. There's a lot of health clinics now they're opening up because they're filling a gap from the primary care side of it. That it's not insurance based; it's really more straight wellness, right? So there's like testosterone replacement, or I think that's TRT. Yeah, TRT.
They're doing hormone replacement therapy
and those kind of things. When I go into a business like that and I look out at the market, that's a business to me that has natural demand and the wind is at their back. Like right now, the demand is increasing. Is it going up from their base of, not their particular base of customers, but middle-aged men basically that don't feel great and they're looking for some kind of hormonal treatment. It's going up.
In the past, they used to rely on their general practitioner, and as things go, and the general practitioners don't have enough time in their day in order to spend that. And
it's just it's a broken model.
Now you're getting other people that want more out of life.
They want to go back to that customized, I want to feel better. And so it makes sense to me. I happen to be a quite middle-aged male, but I mean, you see the opportunity. It's not just looking at the upside of one, in a vacuum. You're looking at what's really happening. What's the feedback from the customer base and the market? And is it positive? Is it a natural growing demand that if they just put a little bit of gasoline on it, it's going to explode?
Yeah.
And then that's just the core product. Then you have all of these other products that can be brought into maybe like a program that's naturally going to add more value. That's a business that I think investors want to get into. They want to knock on your door. And in fact, one of the companies I'm talking to right now, that's what's happening, is they're getting all these knocks on their door to say, we want to do this in every other location in the US.
Yeah.
That's a good sign. If that's not part of the conversation, the wind's not at your back, it's probably a good idea to sleep on it, take a breather and say, maybe I can do this, but it's not going to be the wild success that maybe I thought, because I'm passionate about it. Good. Do it, but be honest about what it's actually going to look like.
Yeah. 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 Look at the facts and, yeah.
So what growth does not look like? Can you think of anything else we haven't covered?
You got debt, you got passion,
investments.
No, I think that's a good basis on there.
Yeah, me too. All right. Goal is to keep these short, burst, so people can watch these and get a lot of value from them. So I say we just
be done.
On
to the next.
All right. Head on over to episode 2.
Got it.